Testing. Is this thing on? Maybe not. I'll put it back up here. Hello! Dyan here, Reaveley Towers. As you can see, look, it was my birthday yesterday. Yes, it was happy birthday to me. We have a Dylusions cake. Look at that. Fabulous, isn't it? That's really Dylusioned. Anyway, I'm home. It's March and I'm here for a couple of weeks. So I thought I'd do some paint videos for you. Here are all my gorgeous, gorgeous, luscious paints. I have 12 colours. I have black and white, and then I have 10 gorgeous, gorgeous colours, all that match with my ink. So, for example, there's lemon zest ink, there's lemon zest paint. Okay, so they're all compatible together. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the paints. I'm going to do a few different videos, but I wanted to talk about the paints because the videos that you've seen from me so far have all been really rushed, because I've either been at a show or something like that. They've all been filmed differently. So Resident Bit of Glamour is in, the film crew are in, got my cup of tea. So I'm going to make, just going to do a few different videos. So the first thing I need to say about my paint is I had paint made because I couldn't find what I wanted to use. I've tried loads and loads of paints over the years, loads of different paints, and loads of paints are really good. Don't get me wrong, they're really, really good and they all do something, but they didn't do everything that I wanted. So I was adamant that I needed paints that did everything for me. They had to be really quick drying, because when I'm working in my journal, I work, shut the book, move on, shut the book, move on, shut the book. I don't want them to, I don't have to sit and wait for them to dry. I know I could easily put one on the side, but I don't want to. So they have to dry really quick for me because I'm very, very impatient. So therefore, they needed to be really fluid. I'm not sure if you can see just how fluid they are. But even though they're fluid, they're absolutely packed with colour. They had to be, you know, really, really full of pigment because I wanted a really, really strong colour. They're a semi-opaque paint, which means that you can build them up and you can do layers. You can layer them all up. But if you want a really solid coat, you just wait for it to dry, which doesn't take long, and then you just put another coat on and it becomes fully opaque, which is really, really cool to do. The most important thing about my paints is that they're compatible with the inks, because a lot of paints you can't spray inks on the top. Okay, they just don't dry, they're not compatible at all. So although you've seen my paints in videos and sort of in the news quite a bit lately, I'm not stopping using my sprays. Sprays are, you know, a massive part of the backgrounds that I do, and so these two have to work together perfectly. So you can use paint on top of sprayed backgrounds, and you can use spray on top of paint backgrounds, and it dries. But now there are other paints that you can use. My sprays with Dina's paints. You know, there are other paints that you can use that with, but that was one of the big factors that I wanted to. The other important factor is you can write over the top of these. Again, a lot of paints on the market that I've used, they have a little bit of a sealer in, a little bit of a resin, and you can't write on them. Well, I'm a journaler. I'm an art journaler. I write, so I needed a product that you could write on top of. So there was lots of different paints that I could use. One's good for writing with, one's good for drying quickly, etc. But I'm a woman. I want it all. I want it now, and I want it in every colour. So there it is. So I've got my first 12 colours in the pots. Quick drying. Easy to blend, semi-opaque. You can build up the layers with them. You can make them opaque if you want to, and you can write over the top. Bingo, everything works. So that's the first thing. Now, I use them a lot of different ways. One way of applying them, which I will show you, is with a baby wipe. I always use Huggies. I don't know why, but they're the best ones I've ever used. This pack is getting a bit low, but I apply with a baby wipe. I apply with a craft scraper, I apply with a palette knife, a brayer. Where's my brayers? Here we go. That's what a new brayer looks like, and that's what Dyan's brayer looks like. I don't know how many layers on there, but it never comes off. I don't usually clean that because it never comes off, but that's what the new one looks like. And there's also a baby one as well. If you're doing smaller pages, I use a baby brayer. So that's the equipment that I use And I also adore these. These are the, I'm just seeing if I've got a new packet actually. Yes, oh, I was going to say I usually have one lurking. These are Tim Holtz, lovely Tim. These are his mini blending tools. And you get in there, you get 2 of the tools, which come like this, it's a little handle, and you get 4 of the foams, so the foams are separate. So you can get them like that, and you can also get a pack just full of the foams, and I just love them. Now they're made for using with his inks to do lots of backgrounds, but I started using them for paint, and I just absolutely love them. I have one of these for every colour, because I'm impatient, and I don't want to be messing around, but you can easily just take this off, put a new colour on, whenever you want to. The thing to be aware of is just hold on to the Velcro when you do it. So when you peel the foam off, you don't lift this Velcro up because sometimes they can come off. So I have one for every colour on here. And the biggest thing I'm asked is, do you wash them? No, we don't do 4-letter words. We don't wash, cook, iron, anything like that. Dust. The trick is to get most of the paint out of them before you put them away. So when I've finished on a night, you can usually see me doing things, and I'll show you again in a bit, doing things like this, and I just make circles. Can you see? I just get the ink off, or I'll go through a stencil onto a separate page, and again I'll show you when I've finished using these later on. So I get the paint out, and I get as much paint out of these as I can. There's a background. Can you see where I just made the circles and then I just doodled round? Because if you leave these full of paint, they're going to go rock hard and then you can't use them. But if you get most of the paint out, can you see these are soft, and I haven't actually used these for over a week, and they're still really, really soft. So I very rarely, the only time I put new ones on is if I shred them. Sometimes some of the techniques that I do, I shred them. So that's the paints really. I've got 2 books here that's just full of the paints, just different effects. This is done with the tools. This is done with just using up whatever's left on baby wipes, the brayers, baby wipes, brayer, baby wipes again, brayer again, baby wipe again, black, ooh, block technique. Do you know, I can't remember. I think it's a cross between baby wipe and just the stencils. But can you see, there's also, this is where I've cleaned up with separate baby wipes, this is where I've done my inking. So lots and lots of techniques on here. Resident Bitter Glamour did a lot in this book, actually, as well. So lots of, I love that one. Look at that. That's just the block technique using black, purple and pink, and then stencils over the top, and I think it just looks absolutely fantastic. So this is what the black looks like with the white over the top. Block technique on the journal, paints on the journal cover, again another one. Again, this is just clean up of stencils, clean up of baby wipes, clean up of the black tool at the end of the day, clean up, clean up, clean up, black. See, mostly backgrounds in here. So what I want to show you first is I do a lot of doodling on a black. You can't just have bright colours in your journal, you've got to have darker colours to offset things. So I do a lot of doodling on black, and this is one good way of showing you how smooth the paint is and how fabulous it is to write over. Now, I never ever use a pen straight onto what I've done, so I won't be showing you the 2 things at once. If I've used ink, I would never use a pen on it, especially a white pen, for at least 24 hours. The biggest cause of death in white pens is using your pen too early. People say, oh, well, it's dry. It's not. The core of it is not dry. It's just not. It's like your nail varnish. It's not cured. So I would never use a white pen for at least 24 hours on ink. On paint, I usually leave it about a good couple of hours. But I just wanted to show you this. So this is actually the black paint underneath. This is not a black journal. This is the black paint underneath. And then I just sat and doodled with a gel pen. I don't know what pen. People ask me all the time, what pen have I used? I don't know, because I just go from one to the other. I'll use, what's this one? The Signo gel pen. I use the Posca paint pen. I use the Graphic pigment white pen. I use the I don't know, the Sharpie white pen, the Sakura. I use any white pen. All the white pens work, but you all do them too quickly. But you can see that there's a lot of detail in there. And I just want to show you how smooth it was to go on the top. And it's really quick and simple to do. And this is the effect that you're going to get. Just a really smooth. Now, of course, you can do it with any colour. I like to show you with black because it is quite dramatic and black is quite hard to cover with. So let me just find a separate page. That'll do. Let's get black. The way, when I use the paints with this, what I do is I always use what's in the lid. So I just bang that down. And I use what's in the lid there. Just a little thing about this. The reason I wanted these wide mouth jars is that I want to be able to get my tools in there. So I want to be able to get my craft scraper, etc. Things like that. And so I wanted a really big jar. I do a lot using the lid. So I wanted this really big jar. Now, in England, we don't have this problem. But if you live in a really warm area, if you leave the lids off these for a long time, they're going to start to evaporate. The water is just going to evaporate out. So I never leave the lids off for very long. I put the lids back on all the time. As you all know, I'm a really tidy person anyway. So I have a place for everything in its place, remember? So I put things away. But if you live in a really, really dry or hot area, what I would suggest you do is at the end of every night, every session when you're finished with them, I would take a little bit of water, spritz some water in there, put the lid on, give it a really good shake, and just replace the water that's been evaporated from it. Okay, so that's what I would do first of all. But I always use from the lid. I never dip straight into this pot. I go into the lid. This is one that I've used from before, but I just want to. I'm going to use a new sponge. I can show you how little paint I use because everybody uses far too much paint on there. So what I do is I take the lid and I pick up some paint, and you see, so I pick up some paint from there. There's not a massive amount, and then I come onto my mat and I just go round pressing it down and working that paint in. Now if you can see my mat, there's hardly any paint on there. Because it's brand new, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it again, and I'm just going to press it in. Okay, and that will give me enough to work with. Okay, now because I'm going to do the whole page, I'm going to need to do it a lot, but that I only ever add that much at a time. If you notice, there's never a lot on the actual mat, and I just go round in a circular motion. The reason I go circular is so you don't get any sort of really harsh lines going across. I am not pressing hard. It's as though I'm dusting across the surface. So I'm just going to go round and round and round. If you have to press hard, you've not quite got enough paint on there. And if it's dragging, it's the same. But I would rather have less paint and put more paint on than have too much paint to start with. If you have too much paint to start with, it just won't dry. It will take ages to dry. I'm just going down that centre there. Okay, so I'm just going to put the lid on. This side is dry, look. This side is dry. This side is still a little bit wet. But can you see the coverage on there? It's a really, really smooth coverage. Now, if you wanted it to be more solid, once it's dry, you can go over again like this. I'm usually fine because I usually cover everything. I'm usually doodling over the top, but if you wanted to, you could. And so that's what I did. That was the page to start with. This was a white pen, no idea which one. And I think I did this on an aeroplane. I'm not sure. I usually do most doodling on an aeroplane. So I just doodled it on. And you just don't know that's a painted page. You just don't know. And that's the nice thing about it. Even when you have the pages that have got lots and lots of layers on, for example, like this still feel very, very smooth. And it's not warped. Can you see? The page hasn't warped or anything like that. So even with two coats, that is, if I pressed like really hard, I'd probably get a fingerprint. But even with two coats, that is dry as well. So I can just shut that. And just shut that and put to one side. And the way that I clean up the bit on my table is I just use a piece of kitchen roll and I just wipe it like this. If you use a baby wipe, you're just going to spread it everywhere. Whereas if you use a piece of kitchen roll, if that's all I was doing, the way I would clean this afterwards is I would just make some, circles on different bits, you see. So I'll just go onto that page. Let's have a look. I'll go through another page in here. And I just keep going till there's not a lot left on the brush there. The other thing I do is, because I've just used this and it's quite, can you see, I don't know if you can see, it's shiny, it's quite wet. So I'm just going to very quickly, because that's quite a thick coat on there. I'd normally have a lot more stuff going on. But just before I put that away, I just want to show you what I would do is I would just go to, let's have a look, another journal page. And remember, this is just to get the excess paint out. This is what I do at the end of a night. So I will add some to some pages like that. I will go to some pages like this. And the beauty of just using a little paint is you get this gorgeous, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it from there, but this is where it's solid and then it fades out. I don't know if you can see, it fades out. It's dry, but it fades out and you get this really, really gorgeous look. You can go on to pages that you've already done as well. See if I can find, see like this page here. If I wanted to, I could just add a little bit more. Black goes with everything, but I do this with every colour. I take every colour and I just add it to what I'm doing, you see. So it just means that I get all the paint out of this and it's not going to go hard. Then to clean it, again, piece of kitchen roll. And my stencils at home all look like this, quite clean. My stencils in my studio that I'm working with are all filthy, covered in paint. Because people say they can't get the paint off. I don't understand, it just comes off. All I did was do some backgrounds, laid there, showed you, took the paint off. So if you do it straight away with a piece of kitchen roll, it will come off. So there you go. Here's some more little techniques, tags done with the paint. So there's a background and then we've just cleaned off the white on the top. Some blocking, some more blocking. These are all ready to go to have things put on the top. Again, can you see where I've cleaned a little bit on the bottom there? So again, I can come onto these and I can just add them, and that's how our backgrounds just become really, really organic, because we just build them up as we go along. So some more here, stamped on the top, inked on the top, circles. Let's have some more circles on this one. Here you just play through some of the stencils. There you go. Okay, so that's a little introduction to my paints. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh, I'm going to have some cake now. Hang on. Oh, I think I've earned it. Cake? Anybody?